Welcome to Speak for America. I'm Bill Spadea. It is great to have you with us on our brand new show. From major national and international headlines to local stories from New Jersey to California and everywhere in between. We've got you covered, America. Kuwait has strongly condemned Iran's latest missile and drone attacks after a building at Kuwait International Airport was struck at dawn. The foreign ministry denounced the strikes as brutal, saying they targeted civilian facilities, killed one person, injured others, and damaged the airport's passenger terminal and diplomatic missions. Kuwait's military says its forces remain on high alert. The incident comes amid ongoing U.S.-Iran hostilities in the region. Clearly, the ceasefire not holding. Florida lawmakers have passed a major property tax relief plan that now heads to voters in November. The measure would raise the homestead exemption from $50,000 to $250,000 by 2028, cut the annual assessment cap on non-homestead properties in half to 5%, and restrict how local governments can spend property tax revenue. It needs 60% voter approval to take effect. To put simply, if you want a home worth less than $250,000 and live there, you're not paying property taxes. This is a huge boost to working families struggling to survive as the cost of living spiked this past year. Supporters say this is the first step toward eliminating property taxes altogether in the Sunshine State. Florida is suing OpenAI and CEO Sam Altman, accusing the company of prioritizing profits over safety with ChatGPT. Attorney General James Uthmeier says the AI chatbot has caused substantial harm, including addiction, self-harm, and violence, particularly to children and teens. The lawsuit cites cases linking ChatGPT to a teen suicide and the recent Florida State University shooting. OpenAI says it has built safety protections for minors into its products. Authorities in California warning World Cup fans, watch out for scams as the tournament kicks off in North America. The LA County Sheriff's Department says con artists are targeting ticket buyers with fake websites, phony ads, and suspicious payment demands. Officials urge fans to only buy directly from FIFA's official site and avoid unusually cheap offers. If it's too cheap, it's probably not real. An Ohio fireworks company has agreed to pay more than $4 million to settle a lawsuit over a 2020 gender reveal party that sparked the massive El Dorado fire in California. The smoke bomb ignited dry brush, burned nearly 23,000 acres, and killed a firefighter. A third company will pay an additional $50,000. Guys, this tragedy aside, can we stop with the gender reveal parties altogether? How about a little old-fashioned anticipation finding out when the baby is born? In New Jersey, a white Chevy Equinox crashed into the front of a real estate office in River Edge, bursting into flames. A nearby resident reported a loud crash followed by fire with apartments above the business. Firefighters helped residents down a fire escape. One person was taken to the hospital with serious injuries. Is it me, or are we hearing about more than a few vehicle-to-building collisions just in the past few months? What's going on in Jersey? Newark Mayor Ras Baraka has lifted the curfew around Delaney Hall, allowing protesters back in front of the ICE detention center without free speech zones. The move comes after weeks of clashes over detainees' food and treatment, at least the accusations from the left. U.S. Border Czar Tom Homan made an unannounced visit Saturday, eating the exact same meal and portions as detainees. Sources say Homan called the food fine and reported nothing wrong with it. Here's what some of protesters are saying.
My family, we are Puerto Rican. Newark was the first place that my grandmother landed in when she left Puerto Rico for a better life. My mother is from Newark, so it's very sad to see what's going on with the immigrant community here.
There was, periodic violence from ICE agents visited upon protesters, but that paled in comparison to what we saw from the state police over the last couple of days. When they came out here, it was actually made ICE look like children compared to the violence that was happening from the state police that were out here.
Classic left-wing propaganda. Say nothing of the fact that the protesters were getting violent with police, and we saw it even with some of the members of the media. And of course, this is classic conflating legal immigrants with illegal criminal migrants. Barack also announced Newark will sue the facility over the conditions inside. Local police have now taken over security. And of course, Ras Baraka has a history of being an agitator for political points over the facility. He was even arrested last year while he was running for governor. It occurred to me that if the Democrats in New Jersey didn't prevent counties from using local jails to house detainees and then collecting revenue from the federal government, Delaney Hall would not even be necessary. So nice try, guys. From the front lines of the border to the White House, a veteran law enforcement officer now helping shape America's fight against the deadly drug epidemic. Victor Avila is a retired Homeland Security Investigations Supervisory Special Agent with ICE, and today he serves as Assistant Director at the White House Office of National Drug Control Policy, also known as the Office of the Drug Czar. Joining us now, Victor Avila, to discuss his office's role in tackling fentanyl cartel operations and how the Trump administration's immigration policies are impacting the flow of illegal drugs into the U.S. Victor, good to see you. Thanks for joining me.
Great to be with you, Bill. Thank you.
So let me ask you, if you could just walk us through we've heard about the drug czar, people hear about it, but what does the Office of National Drug Control Policy actually do on a day-to-day basis?
We do a lot of coordination, but the number one thing we do in our office is set the national drug control policy and strategy, which, as a matter of fact, was just released a couple of weeks ago. And this goes out to all 19 agencies under ONDCP that we help, secure funding for as well. Mm-hmm. And we're talking about attacking the drug crisis from the supply and the demand, all connected. Mm-hmm. Yes, it's connected to the border. It's connected to illegal immigration. It's connected to a lot of things, the fentanyl overdoses, the poisonings, the cartels, and yes, our foreign policy as well, because we understand, most of these drugs comes from outside of our borders.
Let me ask you, Victor, if you look at what's going on with immigration, customs enforcement, and how there's a clash constantly between local and federal policies, you see this certainly in the blue states. How does that impact your team? Are you able to coordinate with local law enforcement, with the folks on the ground, state police, and others?
That's a great question because we oversee the HIDA programs here, which is a high-intensity drug task force area. We have 33 across the nation, and they're mostly made up of state and local officials, local sheriffs, local police departments within these groups that are ultimately very, very necessary for the federal government to combat both, the drug trade and everything else that, by the way, there's a ripple effect of a lot of other crimes within that. But yes, unfortunately, sometimes the sanctuary city policies of some of these states or cities or complete states does affect that. And, unfortunately, the criminal investigation side of immigration, which we're talking about Homeland Security investigations, for example, not the deportation side, it's all convoluted by the left. It's all put together. And then our police officers and our state officials suffers because of that.
Now, this office, you think about the term drug czar, it goes back to 1989. I mean, we're talking about, when George H.W. Bush was in office. So why should Americans be confident in the office? I mean, and is it something that is based on the party in charge? So it's better under Republicans and it kind of falls apart under Democrats? Give the people some confidence in understanding how this works.
Definitely makes a big difference. I'll tell you that this office is very different than the last 4 years under the Biden administration. As a matter of fact, I could tell you confidently that ONDCP right now is not just because I work here. It's probably done more in the last year than a lot of them combined in the last couple of decades. And that's just because of the leadership of President Trump giving us that latitude to go out to the communities and combat and coordinate and get together with all the law enforcement agencies, intelligence agencies, and many others. Just today had a DEA administrator in our office, ATF, FBI, Homeland Security investigations. We are kind of like the glue that brings everybody together to discuss the issues, whether it's vaping, whether it's other drugs that are emerging threats. We're trying to put out the word out there, but we're doing a lot of PSAs, for example. We're working with FIFA and the World Cup, the UFC. We're trying to combat this and bring the awareness to the entire country, because the last thing we want to see is more deaths occur. We have dropped those deaths. If you can remember, under the Biden administration, we're over 100,000 every year. The numbers just came out last week. We're at 68,000. It's nothing to celebrate, but we are, going in the right direction and reducing these numbers.
What's the if you could bring us to the border? I mean, we spent some time at the border, both before I was a candidate and then when I was running. We talked through all the folks that were managing our border and everyone on the ground, specifically in Texas, with the folks that we met with. What a dramatic difference between the last year of Joe Biden, that first year of the Trump administration. How much does a closed border impact your job?
Ooh, I mean, I could tell you it's making an incredible difference with the way the border is today. And we were just in Arizona last week. We were in El Paso, Texas, a couple of weeks before that. I'm from the border. I grew up working at the border, as you guys know, and mentioned as a HSI special agent. So I'm very familiar with the border. And I could personally tell you, I have never seen the border as secure as it is. But having said that, there are still challenges down there. The cartels are not going to give up, and they haven't stopped. So they're going back to tactics that I saw at the 25 years ago at the beginning of my career to smuggle the fentanyl, the methamphetamine, and even the human beings. Now, the only difference is they're trying to do it completely undetected. And so you're seeing a lot of these seizures go up at the border and even within our borders, seizures that you had never seen before, because now there's a shift. Right now, we're looking at cocaine making a spike. We're seeing other drugs come into the market because there's a big, focus on fentanyl. So the cartels are adjusting. We just have to adjust with them or in advance of them.
Victor, how much of an issue is the human trafficking, specifically with children? One of the things that we witnessed at the border were almost former encampments on the American side as illegals would come over. They would scatter and oftentimes get picked up by a lot of these NGO buses or runners for the cartel. How often do you encounter an issue where young children are being used as mules to bring the drugs in?
Many, many times. I could tell you, as a subject matter expert in human trafficking investigations and victim identification, I dealt a lot of this with my career. That has dramatically dropped just in the last year under the Trump administration, but it was out of control. You all saw the numbers, 300,000 plus kids that DHS is still trying to recover and find. And a lot of them have been very successful. But unfortunately, because of the way the Biden administration set it up through HHS and Office of Refugee and Resettlement, some of these kids are completely unknown where their whereabouts are throughout the U.S., which is very sad. And yes, I could tell you personally, a lot of them are put in the sex slave trade and the forced labor trade. Yes, in this country, in the United States in 2026. And I understand and I know because Tom Holman, a personal friend of mine, they're looking for them. They're still combating to get that. But I could tell you the reduction in numbers is dramatic at the border.
Yeah, Tom is a good guy, and Mark Wayne Mullen doing a good job. They're getting the job done, but there's still a lot more ground to cover. Great talking to you. I would love to have you back as the World Cup unfolds. We obviously have serious concerns about human trafficking and drugs in New Jersey, in particular, with the World Cup opening up. So we'd love to talk to you again. Assistant Director Victor Avila, thank you. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
An explosive fight brewing in New Jersey where lawmakers are set to vote on a bill that critics say would criminalize peaceful pro-life speech. Next, we'll hear directly from the leaders who are sounding the alarm. Right now, I'd like to check in with one of our great sponsors, Larry Steinhaus's financial tip of the week, real-world money advice you were never taught in school, from investing in passive income to protecting your wealth and making smarter financial moves. All right, Larry, good to see you again. Great jacket. What do you have for us today?
Hey, I got some great stuff for you today. I'm Larry Steinhaus, and here is your financial tip of the week. Stop giving politicians credit for your wallet. Ugh. Here's a thought that might make some people very uncomfortable. The president is not responsible for your financial success or failure. Neither is your governor, your senator, your mayor, or your favorite cable news channel. Now, look, before you guys start sending me angry emails and maybe even create a hater meter for me, politicians can absolutely influence the economy. They can affect taxes, regulations, interest rates, and government spending. Yes, those things matter, but here's what matters even more: your decisions. Look, I've met people who made millions under Republican presidents. I've met people who made millions under Democrat presidents. And I've met broke people who blamed both. The stock market has created wealth under virtually every administration. Real estate investors have built fortunes under every administration. Business owners have succeeded under every administration. Why? Because successful people spend less time complaining about Washington and more time focusing on what they can control. You can control how much you save. You can control how much you learn. You can control whether you invest. You can control whether you start that side business. You can control whether you spend your evenings watching the news or improving your financial IQ. I see people who can tell every detail of the latest political controversy, but they can't explain the difference between a traditional IRA and a Roth IRA. They know the latest poll numbers, but they have no idea what their net worth is. And that's backwards. Politics is interesting. Your financial future is much more important. The truth is, no politician is coming to make you rich, no election is going to magically solve your money problems, and no government program will ever care more about your family's future than you do. So instead of asking, who's going to win the next election, ask yourself, what am I going to do this week to improve my financial future? Because whether you're a Republican, Democrat, Independent, or something else entirely, the path to wealth has always been the same. Learn more, earn more, invest more, complain less. And that's the financial tip, no matter who's sitting in the White House. By the way, if you're hoping someone will fix your finances, of course you know it's not going to happen. So the best way to invest in the future is come see me at Investor Schooling. Go to investorschooling.com and I will teach you everything that school never taught you. I'm Larry Steinhaus, Investor Schooling.
Larry Steinhaus, thank you very much. Remember, visit investorschooling.com. Welcome back to Speak for America. I am Bill Spadea. CBS News has fired longtime 60 Minutes correspondent Scott Pelley after a heated staff meeting where Pelley accused new editor-in-chief Barry Weiss of, quote, murdering the show and slammed the new executive producer for the show's qualifications. Pelley called the move a loss of the program's DNA, while management cited his performative hostility. The shakeup deepens the turmoil at the legendary news magazine. It's important to note that Pelley is considered a woke journalist by many media critics, and Barry Weiss, who started out as a huge critic of President Trump, has recently praised him for some policies, including his support for Israel. She is also a huge critic of, quote, gender ideology, and as a lesbian, takes issue with a lot of the politics pushed by the LGBTQ alphabet soup crowd. One question I have is, was Pelley on the way out, and was this a dramatic exit for effect? Who leaked the audio of the staff meeting where he verbally went after the new executive producer? Seems at least one group within the legacy media is trying to ditch the woke. Private employers added 122,000 jobs in May, according to payroll firm ADP, beating economists' expectations of 117,000. Education and health services led the gains, while small businesses added the most workers. ADP says hiring was more broad-based than in recent years as the labor market heads into summer. The official government jobs report is due Friday. Of course, the number could almost be considered a rounding error. The real story is, how well do these jobs pay? How many were simply returning to work? And is this helping the overall crisis of affordability facing so many Americans? Samsung Electronics America. Well, they're relocating their U.S. headquarters out of Jersey to Plano, Texas. This is just 8 months after moving into its new Garden State facility. That's right. They stayed in New Jersey for 8 months. The company, which leases space in Englewood Cliffs, says the move aligns with a broader business transformation for long-term growth. The decision is reigniting criticism of New Jersey's high corporate taxes and regulatory environment as more companies continue shifting operations to very business-friendly Texas. Translation for the cheap seats: Governor Mikey Sherrill, who campaigned as the affordability governor, has so far failed to deliver on any of the campaign promises to create prosperity or even additional opportunity for workers in the Garden State. A new Gallup poll shows American support for LGBTQ plus issues has stalled and is actually now sliding backward. 65% of Americans still back same-sex marriage, but that's down 6 points from its 2022-23 peak. Moral acceptance of gay and lesbian relationships has fallen to less than 2/3 of Americans at just 62%, the lowest since 2016. Support for so-called gender transitions down sharply, only 38% viewing it as morally acceptable. Now, this is a clear reflection of what many independent voices, even among the LGBTQ community, have been saying for a while there's a huge difference between sexual orientation, being gay, and the mental illness known as gender dysphoria, when LGB became conflated with TQ plus and whatever else they added. It was only a matter of time before the charade unraveled. It's important to note that drops are driven mainly by Republicans and independents, while Democratic views remain steady. The survey was conducted in early May. New Jersey lawmakers facing intense pressure ahead of a key Senate vote on legislation that supporters call a necessary shield for so-called reproductive health care, but opponents warn could silence free speech, shield providers from oversight, and turn the state into a sanctuary for procedures banned elsewhere. Senate Bill S-2260 would make it criminal to, quote, interfere with abortion and what is softly called gender transition services, which in reality involve harmful drugs and potentially mutilating surgeries, which are irreversible. The new law shields providers, even if the target is a child. The bill actually creates new penalties for actions that cause emotional harm or reputation damage to these providers. Critics, including pro-life and pro-family groups, say it criminalizes peaceful advocacy and blocks other states from protecting their residents. Joining us now, Greg Quinlin, founder of Garden State Families, and Marie Tasy from New Jersey, Right to Life. Appreciate you both. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having
Thank
us.
you.
Now, the bill has been described as a direct response to Roe v. Wade being struck down, although New Jersey still has the highest per capita abortion numbers in the country. Seems you could describe this bill as an aggressive way of shutting down pregnancy resource centers and faith-based initiatives to help those with unplanned pregnancies and mental issues surrounding gender identity. So let's talk about it. Marie, I'll start with you. What is your thought? What is your first reaction? You and I have had these discussions before where you had people like Josh Gottheimer, the member of Congress, who has actively gone after these pregnancy resource centers. How do you react to the offense now, potentially criminal offense, to interfering with so-called reproductive health services?
It's just so radical. It's just another example of how extreme the Democrats in New Jersey have become on abortion. There have not been any problems in New Jersey with regard to First Amendment activities, and this is clearly just an effort now to shut down peaceful pro-life speech in front of abortion clinics. It's a very broad shield law protecting the abortion providers and not providing any type of protection to those who practice their First Amendment rights, to try and persuade women peacefully at abortion clinics to choose life. The language is just so broad, as you pointed out, Bill, emotional harm, mental anguish. We've had a situation where the Cherry Hill Women's Center was recently cited for deficiencies and safety violations. So if somebody stands outside, that center and informs somebody going in about these deficiencies, under this bill, they could be charged with a fourth-degree crime for causing emotional harm or financial harm to reputation. It's absolutely ridiculous. It interferes with other states' laws, interstate commerce. They included gender health under the definition of reproductive health services. Anyone who speaks against it obviously could be prosecuted and charged with a fourth-degree crime. And we know that this attorney general is radical, just as radical as, unfortunately, the last one, Matt Plankin. Yeah. And will certainly enforce these provisions and really go after peaceful pro-life protests.
You're not wrong there. Jenny Davenport is a radical. We've been saying this. So many people apologized for her on the way in, saying, no. It's the same thing they said of Kabir Graywall. No, he's pro-cop. Yep. Turned out not so much. Greg, let me ask you, your organization focuses on families, parental rights. So I want to know, does this bill risk turning sidewalk counselors, bloggers, clergy, parents, maybe radio TV hosts for voicing their concerns at school board meetings or on the sidewalk? I mean, does this open the door for outrageous and aggressive prosecutions of anyone, including healthcare workers who provide free ultrasounds to women as they consider what choice they're going to make?
Yes, it absolutely does. It interferes with everyone's speech and their ability to perform their task as a healthcare professional. The other part of it, too, is it wipes parents away. This has been the strategy of the Democrat Party in New Jersey for some time, is to take away the parental rights and to make sure that children now become the wards of the state. I mean, you've got the bill right here. It gives all sorts of new definitions, new things to talk about. They did take out the social media aspect of it, but they're looking for ways to shut you up because they have to protect abortion. They have to protect also the cross-sex hormones, the puberty blockers, which is the new revenue stream of Planned Parenthood. So this is what this is about. It's to take parental rights away, and it's about to taking control of our children and our children's health. This is very, very dangerous, and it also it goes against the First Amendment.
Yeah, I mean, profiteering on the backs of people that have a mental issue, clearly, who need help, and it's really unreal that this is happening. It seems only in New Jersey, and now, Marie, specifically, the bill strips medical licensing boards of authority to discipline providers for any, quote, reproductive health care activity. So explain what that means. I mean, does that mean there's no liability? I mean, you're talking about the potential of a minor, a child, being put up by mentally ill parents, and there's no consequence. I mean, we're seeing an endless run of people that are saying they want to reverse what happened. We're seeing this happen again and again. This would almost eliminate that here.
Yeah, no other medical procedure is given this type of immunity. It's just all reproductive, health services. It's absolutely ridiculous. They also issued a fiscal statement just recently saying that this was going to cost a lot of the departments a lot of additional costs for prosecuting pro-life individuals. The judiciary. It's really interesting, but it's an indeterminate number. They don't know how much it's going to be, and yet they issued this after the Senate passed the bill.
Yeah, that's how it works, right? It really is incredible. Let's explore further, Greg. The legislation bars New Jersey from cooperating with other states, so that means another state has a ban on gender procedures for minors. How would this impact if a minor is essentially trafficked to New Jersey to take advantage of the fact that there's no accountability here?
Marie and I have been doing this for good grief. From last year to this year, we've been testifying on these bills. Now we have the license plate readers. This is another way. This is not just this bill, but there's a whole slew of bills that actually interfere with interstate law enforcement. So here's there's a film of me doing this, in committee. But the bottom line is this: supposing that you have someone and they're coming into the state for an abortion, and they're a minor. And it's because they are pregnant because they are being trafficked, raped 14 times a day. Think about that. Then they're being brought into our state to get that a free abortion, by the way, free. The people of New Jersey subsidize the abortions of the human trafficking industry. That's a cash business. They used to pull the wad of money out and pay Planned Parenthood, whoever it was that was performing the abortion, and pay for it that way. Not anymore, because no questions are asked. You have a pregnant minor, and so let's say Pennsylvania is looking for that minor. They know she's being trafficked, but now they're going to have to sign, if these other bills pass, a affidavit, a waiver saying that they're not using this to go after them because of the abortion. So you're delaying the law enforcement. You're delaying the police from finding this kidnapped, trafficked human being who happens to be a minor, and at the expense of New Jersey taxpayers.
Yeah. New Jersey taxpayers pay for it, and the criminal cartels get to take that kidnapped victim back to send them back into this horrific world. Horrible. Real quick, before I let you go, will there be a lawsuit, and will both your organizations be involved in suing to get rid of this?
We certainly hope there will be, and we'll be looking, if it does pass, to find, a legal organization that'd be willing to take the case. And yes, absolutely. I know that I could speak for New Jersey Right to Life, that we would definitely, want to be involved in that lawsuit.
Yeah, God knows you can't count on the legislature, so it's going to have to go through the courts. All right, Marie Tasy, New Jersey Right to Life, Greg Quinlin.
We've been in contact too. So with the public interest law firms that will help us with this. It violates the First Amendment here. Yeah.
Greg Quinlin, Garden State Families, Marie Tasy, New Jersey Right to Life. Thanks, guys. We'll be talking soon.
Thanks for having us, Bill. Take care. Bye-bye.
God bless.
Coming up next, why some New Yorkers are pushing to strip former Mayor Ed Koch's name from the Queensboro Bridge. Ken Rosato is here to help break it all down. But first, let's hear a word from another one of our great sponsors, Dr. Adriana Lombardi with the Skin Cancer and Cosmetic Surgery Center of New Jersey.
Hi, Bill. Thanks for having me again. Today, I wanted to take the opportunity to talk a little bit about acne and the newest treatments out there for it. Acne can affect patients of all ages. It's not just teenagers, and it can really affect self-confidence and cause long-lasting scarring. I wanted to teach you about the AviClear laser. The AviClear laser is the first FDA-approved laser to treat acne. It uses a specific wavelength to target the sebaceous glands or oil glands that are a key component to acne. These treatments are 1 month apart for 3 months, typically painless, and there's no downtime afterwards. AviClear laser is used to treat mild, moderate, and severe acne. It's great for patients that have been frustrated using topical treatments and even oral treatments. The best part about it is that you don't have to take isotretinoin. The results of AviClear treatments can be seen gradually over the months as decreased inflammation occurs and improvement of the acne happens. AviClear laser is great for treating all ages of acne, including teenagers to patients with hormonal acne in later years. If you're struggling with acne, we would love to see you here in the office to see if you're a good candidate for this treatment. Thank you.
Dr. Adriana Lombardi, thank you very much. Skin Cancer and Cosmetic Surgery Center of NJ. Visit sccsnj.com. Welcome back to Speak for America. I am Bill Spadea. Millions of American voters went to the polls in key primaries across New Jersey, Iowa, South Dakota, Montana, New Mexico, and California. In California, the high-stakes gubernatorial primary remains too close to call, but San Jose Mayor Matt Mahan, former Congresswoman Katie Porter, and LA Mayor Antonio Villagriosa have conceded. Republican Steve Hilton, who led the pack on election night against former Biden official Xavier Becerra and billionaire left-wing activist Tom Steyer, all three of them are still in the mix to grab the 2 spots that will advance to the general election in November. Incumbent Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass will face a runoff election after failing to win a majority in Tuesday's primary. Bass advanced despite sharp criticism from both sides, Republicans slamming her on homelessness and emergency response, and progressives saying she hasn't done enough on housing affordability. Once the results are certified, it looks like Bass will go head-to-head with reality TV star turned candidate Spencer Pratt, who placed second and has based his campaign on sharp, clever, and entertaining criticism of the current mayor. In other highlights, Deb Haaland won New Mexico's Democratic gubernatorial nomination, poised to become the first American Indian woman elected governor if victorious. Yes, folks, that's the correct term. The Federal Bureau is still called the Bureau of Indian Affairs, not Native American. That term was pushed in order to make Americans feel guilty about their past and tear down the incredible American experiment. They take unfortunate and terrible events and use hundreds of years of old history in order to hurt our country now. Well, we're not going to do it here, certainly not on the 250th birthday of our great nation. In Iowa, Josh Turek secured the Democratic Senate nod to face Republican Ashley Hinson. And back to New Jersey, a pro-Palestinian plastic surgeon with ties to convicted terrorists has actually won New Jersey's Democratic primary for a safe blue House seat. No kidding. Adam Hisham Hamawi, a former Army combat medic born in Egypt, defeated 11 opponents to succeed retiring Rep. Bonnie Watson-Coleman. Hamawi, backed by Bernie Sanders, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, AOC, and a pro-Palestinian super PAC, faced scrutiny over past testimony as a defense witness for the convicted blind sheikh in the 1993 World Trade Center bombing case. His campaign called the criticism guilt by association, but again, criticized Hamawi's ties to terrorists, and they'll call you an Islamophobe, another made-up term from the left designed to create an apologist culture for terrible acts. On the Senate side, Justin Murphy has won New Jersey's Republican United States Senate primary, setting up a general election battle against incumbent Democratic Senator Cory Booker. Murphy, a Navy veteran and conservative attorney from Tabernacle, that's in South Jersey, defeated three other candidates in a pretty close race. He is a solid conservative Navy veteran, enlisting when he was just 17 years old. Justin is an attorney and former deputy mayor. Republicans have not won a New Jersey Senate seat since 1972. Think about that. This is what many would call an uphill battle in a solid blue state. So we're going to see if country club millionaires and billionaires across New Jersey who claim to be staunch Republicans, are they ready to step up and help this grassroots leader now that he is the official nominee, or will they continue to provide cover for one of the most radical and woke members of the U.S. Senate, Cory Booker? Let's turn to New York City. Some folks in New York City are actually pushing to strip former Mayor Ed Koch's name from the iconic Queensboro Bridge, now officially the Ed Koch Queensboro Bridge. Since 2011, Mayor Zohran Mamdani backed the idea on the campaign trail, citing Koch's handling, or as he puts it, mishandling of the AIDS crisis in the 80s. An LGBTQ plus alphabet soup Democratic club is holding him to it. As the so-called Pride Month kicks off, critics are calling it political correctness gone way too far, erasing a mayor who helped pull the city out of a fiscal crisis and did a great job fighting crime. Mayor Mamdani says yes on a questionnaire last year to removing Ed Koch's name from the bridge over his response to AIDS. Is this really a priority for the new mayor? Ed Koch was accused of slow walking the AIDS response, blamed for costing thousands of lives, especially in the gay community. Now, is that really a fair history, or was he operating in a time when the disease was brand new and poorly understood? And remember, it was during the AIDS epidemic that Dr. Fauci first reared his head in a conflict with Nobel Prize winner Kary Mullis, who's the inventor of the now famous PCR method. So it seems any criticism of Koch's actions then are wildly out of context. Let's bring in Ken Rosato. Ken, I know you're hot on this. Look, Mayor Koch came in, the city was broke, crime-ridden in the late 70s. He put in fiscal reform, subway improvements, quality of life crackdowns, three-term mayor, beloved three-term mayor. So two questions for you. One, why are you up in arms over this? And two, does taking his name down take away from what the man accomplished?
Cancel culture sucks. And people who do it are cowards. And this is what you have on the left. They don't like it. They're like a bunch of petulant children. I don't like this. I don't like this. So just strip the name, make the history go away. This is what communists have done, Bill. This is what they've done since their inception. If they don't like something or they feel that it hinders them in any way, then we just remove the name, pretend they never existed. Listen, this matters to me on several levels. Number one, I went to grammar school, high school, and college in Manhattan. I am a gay man. Ed Koch, though he couldn't be out at the time, was a gay man who had to stay so deeply in the closet. His partner used to live in the apartment next door to him so they could be together, but yet the public would think they were separate. The insanity of this moron Mamdani suggesting that Ed Koch, himself a gay man, would have done anything to slow down, anything to help people with HIV and AIDS at a time when we knew absolutely nothing about the disease. They called it gay cancer. They didn't know what it was, how you got it, how you prevented it. And then to say that he slow walked it, what the hell does the mayor of New York have to do with it? Nothing. This is all about the federal government and the CDC. And yes, Mr. Dr. Fauci, whom I also know, we went to the same high school, but years apart. He's much older. But the idea that that the mayor of New York could in any way slow walk something like this is just nonsense. And then to remove his name, why don't we just go back? Hey, tell you what, there are a lot of things that Martin Luther King could be criticized about. I don't see one person up in arms in New York City removing the name of MLK from MLK Boulevard. Do you?
You know, it's interesting, Ken. I mean, you know, you think about it, you start renaming bridges and buildings. It's not even that they're renaming because they've got some better idea. It is just a teardown. And you could argue this cancel culture in New York City goes back to the George Floyd nonsense. I mean, even back to Michael Brown, where it's like, wait a minute, we've got to go after the cops. We've got to go after anybody that we deem a racist. And of course, they broad brush that to mean pretty much anybody that supported police officers. A lot of this coming from LGBTQ LGBTQ groups. And, I had said this earlier that there seems to be a split between the LGB and the rest of the alphabet soup mafia, as I have referred to them, where they've conflated the two, conflating sexual orientation with mental illness. And now their latest target is Ed Koch. Where does it end?
It is ridiculous. And yes, you're right. And again, I speak, I normally you never hear me say I speak as a gay man, but because of the topic, I am speaking as a gay man
Sure.
here. My friends, and I'm 59 years old, my friends who are mature and think, they don't want anything to do with the political radicals who love to assign themselves letters. Okay. I never go out. I don't celebrate Pride. How could you be? Listen to this silliness. If you claim you are born the way you are, then what's to be proud or not to be proud? It is who you are. Well, it's not like, look what I've achieved. Pride is something you've achieved. Did I achieve my attraction toward men? No. If you claim you were, it's just so illogical. If you claim you were born that way, then there's nothing to be proud of. That's like saying my blood is red. I should be proud of that. No, you were born with red blood. You were born gay. You were born straight, whatever. I'm not saying you should be embarrassed of it, but at the same time, the concept of flaunting it and pushing it in somebody's face, that never won somebody's heart. And when you say we're here, we're queer, get used to us and shove your chest at somebody, that only makes them indignant toward you. That doesn't make them love who you are and what you do.
So interesting you say that, Ken. And we think about this with even having a whole month, the so-called Pride Month. It is not about gay Americans. It is all about a political agenda. Look at Barry Weiss at CBS. I mean, she's under terrible and tremendous fire. Here, she is an identified lesbian, but she's saying, whoa, 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 slow down with conflating sexual orientation and the alphabet soup. I mean, those are my words, not hers, but, we're on the same page with that. When did it become a movement of sexualizing young people and children and the whole thing? It's supposed to be about your orientation and, hey, leave me alone. I've got my rights. You've got your rights. When did this go completely off the rails?
Well, let's just back it up for 1 second, if we could, Bill. In the mind of a good commie liberal, you cannot be black, gay, Jewish, and conservative. God forbid, because only
right.
To be black, gay, Jewish, etc., you must be a liberal because that means you're intelligent and enlightened. If I had $1 for every conversation I had with my liberal friends who are heterosexual, who decided they knew better about how me, a gay man, should be living my gay life
Right.
and the type of political affiliation I should have as a gay man, I would be a trillionaire right now. Liberals always know what's best for me. And I love seeing, like you see on social media, you'll see the posts of like the gray-haired, scraggly-haired old women who are about 400 pounds overweight with the nose ring and the purple hair and whatnot. And they're the ones who will walk up to a black man and tell the black man that they shouldn't be supporting Trump. It's like, really?
That's
well,
right.
Thank you so much,
Yeah.
mother. Mind your business. And maybe if you thought like the rest of us independent, you wouldn't have that same idea and mentality as well. But yes, the LGBT soup is all about leftism. This is a segment of socialism. That's all it is. And they use blacks, they use gays, they use any group they can to push their agenda, because then it makes people back down. We don't want to contradict the gay community. We don't want to hurt the feelings of somebody who's African American or Hispanic. So we better just go along with the politics.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's a lot of bullying and shaming going on. Well, I think we need something equivalent of the Save Ferris movement from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Save Ed Koch. Keep his name on the bridge. Ken Rosato, host of Mornings with Ken Rosato. Always great to see you, my friend. Talk soon.
I love you, my friend. God bless. Have a good show.
Right back at you. Thank you. Take care. Ken Rosato, good guy, spot on and willing to take the hits for speaking the truth. Google wants to release tens of millions of blood-sucking mosquitoes across Florida and California on purpose. Tonight, New York Republican strategist Manny Alicandro joins us to explain why this high-tech experiment could be a very dangerous gamble to the environment and public health. Welcome back to Speak for America. I am your host, Bill Spadea. So mosquitoes, you hate them every summer, right? They suck blood, they spread deadly diseases, and now they swarm by tens of millions. And guess what? Google wants to unleash more than 60 million of them across Florida and California on purpose. The tech giant pushing for a massive release of genetically modified mosquitoes infected with bacteria through its debug program. The goal? To crash local mosquito populations by making their eggs non-viable. Some of the pilots have already happened in Florida Keys and Miami-Dade County. Critics call it an uncontrolled experiment with nature. Supporters say it's a high-tech weapon against Zika, West Nile, and other threats. Google now seeking EPA approval with public comments due this Friday. The potential damage to the environment and unknown potential harm to residents should be enough to shut this wild experiment down, but we are going to see. And let's not forget the West Nile virus, which was one of the impetus issues for this, only kills 120 to 130 Americans out of our 340 million person population annually. And 80% of those who get the virus show no symptoms. To most, it's a mild flu. The folks with serious comorbidities, advanced age, poor health, and compromised immune systems, they're the only ones at risk to West Nile. Where have we heard this before? Is this Google just coming up with a solution in search of a problem? Well, let's ask Manny Alicandro. He is a New York Republican strategist. He has been a frequent guest. Manny, always good to see you. Thanks for joining me today. All right. Is Google playing God with mosquitoes? What do you think?
This is completely insane. When I first read this, I literally thought it was The Onion. I was trying to figure out, what am I reading and where did this come from? It is completely nuts. Let's think about what Google wants to do with this debug initiative. They want to essentially send out millions of male mosquitoes that are infected with this bacteria that makes them sterile. So then they can't impregnate the female mosquitoes. This is Frankenstein gone sideways. What are we doing? Why are we relying upon Google to do anything with regard to the initiatives of the environment? I have no idea where this came from. It literally seems like it's a bad sci-fi movie from the 50s. What I think needs to be done, the bad mosquitoes need to be killed. We have pesticides, we have whatever. And I think the problem is the blue hairs, the elitists, the collectives are determining that, oh my God, if we kill these mosquitoes via pesticides or whatever, it could cause some kind of environmental harm, or maybe inhumanely kill the mosquitoes. So let's do this weird experiment where the males mate the females and the population will diminish slowly, slowly, slowly. If the female mosquitoes and the male mosquitoes out there are problematic, we should kill them immediately, however we need to do it. If we really want to stop the spread of disease, kill the mosquitoes. Why have this weird experiment? It makes absolutely no sense.
It's interesting you say that. We have a pest control service at my house in New Jersey, and guess what? We spray the backyard. It's 5 sprays over the summer, very few mosquitoes, and then what the spray doesn't get, the bats take care of. So, the EPA, of course, is they're talking about fast tracking approval. Public comments are happening this week. From a conservative standpoint, is this just another example of big tech, federal bureaucrats rushing something through? I mean, Manny, I'm starting to have flashbacks to the rushed warp speed COVID vaccine, and we saw how that worked out. And they've tried other experiments with plants and causing hundreds of millions of dollars in environmental problems and other problems. How do you communicate this to the Trump administration to stop it?
That's a great question. Look, it's going to be really hard to square the circle, right? At the end of the day, what I'm worried about is some really, really virulent, strong mosquito comes out of this madness. So in an effort to curtail the disease and the spread of disease, we make it even worse, but you're absolutely right. We don't have that far back to look. COVID, we have the Hunter virus, we have Ebola out there. I think we have real things that we need to address immediately. And why is Google, again, let's talk about this. Why is Google getting involved in this, right? What's the purpose? That's what I'm really struggling with. I'm really struggling with why Google would be behind an initiative that is from the 1950s. I'm not sure if it works. I'm not sure if it'll ever work. It seems like Google has done some bad things potentially, and they're looking to curry some good favor with the government because they're trying to do something that I'm not even sure why they're trying to do it. And unfortunately, Bill, I'm not even sure if they can explain why they're doing it. So,
You know,
this,
Manny, it's incredible, right? We heard for many years about what they were spraying in the skies, and then you find out we were all called conspiracy theorists, and then states started to ban it. You're like, well, wait a minute, if it's not happening, what are they banning? Then we hear about the ticks, and apparently they're trying to genetically modify ticks. All of this sounds like madness to me. My question is this Wolbachia bacteria. How do they know it's not going to mutate? How do they know it's not going to spread to other species? How do they know it's not going to harm human health and disrupt the entire ecosystem? Who are we to put something in that's going to change the balance of how these insects mate?
absolutely right. We don't know. We're always told rely on the science. Right? Weren't we told that with COVID? And where did that get us? At least there was some science or some kind of crazy science. But now, where's the science in this? You're absolutely right. To me, we need to just kill the bad mosquitoes. However we need to do it, we do it. If it's humanely, whatever you want to call it, whatever satisfies those people who would be against us killing them, fine. But you're absolutely right. We could create some type of mosquito that really could wreak havoc on the world and we won't know how to deal with by essentially doing this weird type of effect here where we're causing a mutation potentially, as you absolutely correct in alleging it could happen.
And Manny, why not experiment with this in a lab? Why are we doing this on innocent American people in their homes and their normal environment? Makes no sense to me whatsoever. Now, you're probably too young, Manny, to remember the trucks that would spray down the street to try to dissipate the bugs, and they stopped all that.
I remember.
So you can go too far with the chemicals. I get that, but why aren't they talking about making a safer bug repellent, a safer chemical? I don't know. Seems like they've got the technology for that. They'd rather experiment with these weird Frankenstein, as you so well put it. Manny Alicandro, always good to see you. We'll talk soon. Take care.
Thanks very much.
You got it. All right, you can't make this up. Homeland Security investigators, well, they've uncovered a massive cross-border drug tunnel after a month of surveillance on a fake retail store in San Diego. The nearly 2,000-foot-long tunnel buried 55 feet underground connected San Diego to Tijuana. Federal agents arrested 4 people after seizing more than 1 ton of cocaine. Yep, if you're wondering, that's worth an estimated $45 million, and they got it from vehicles linked to the operation. Now, the bust follows suspicious activity at the phony Buy for Less store, which is near the Mexican border. Can't make it up. Boaters in Florida's Sarasota Bay got a sweet surprise this past Sunday. A boat designed to look just like an ice cream truck was spotted cruising across the water. Footage shows the Tropicool ice cream boat speeding by, much to the delight of everyone on the bay. The family-owned business delivers ice cream, cold drinks, and snacks right on the water, as one boater put it, only in Florida. All right, guys, that is all the time that I have with you tonight. I do appreciate you watching. I always enjoy spending time with you. Thanks for being a part of this new show. And of course, I look forward to continuing to speak with you for America. I'm Bill Spadea. Keep the faith and the fight. I'll see you next time.